What, in the morning? So in the morning sometimes what I get to do is we watch our grandkids that are 3 and 2 and 2. We watch our grandchildren 3 to 4 days a week. So a lot of times before I leave in the morning, I'll spend an hour or two with them, and that's kind of fun to be able to do that and spend some time with them on a daily basis before I have to, head in and say, okay, now let's go serve him in a different way.
The impact that Tom has had on people's lives, we can't go anywhere that people do not walk up to him that he knows either really well or they have just met briefly. And people tell us all the time how much he has impacted their lives. So many attribute their faith to how Tom has come alongside of them and pointed them to Christ, encouraged them, and been relational with them. It sounds like a cliche, but he really impacts others to lead Christ-centered life.
And one of the greatest accolades or pats on the back a coach can have is when he's invited to the wedding or a graduation. I've seen Coach Flynn in all those instances, and people understand it's not about the lacrosse. It was about the relationship.
I think I always had a propensity for whatever reason, to be involved in sports. Even when I was young, I played baseball and basketball and even football. When I graduated from high school, some of the direction wasn't that great and my home direction wasn't that good, so I was kind of on my own on those kind of things. And so I went to Purdue University and said, they also have lacrosse, I'll pick that up as well. Well, you look back on that, it's kind of what I tell guys now. You don't really remember a lot of the records, you don't remember a lot of that, but you remember all the guys you did with. So I met my wife my junior year of college. We dated, we got married 3 weeks out of college.
What was Tom like when we first met? Well, he was very smart and funny, ambitious, athletic, purposeful.
She's the one that brought me to Christ because she wanted to get back in her faith, and how I saw what the difference that Christ made in her life is something that said, I want some of that, and I wanted something that she had. And what a better way than you see your wife do that.
Kids just have been drawn to him as he has been drawn to kids too. And he was the coach of all of our kids' teams, be it soccer, basketball, lacrosse, whatever they did, he coached them. Anytime they had slumber parties, birthday parties, he was always the entertainment. Kids were just always drawn to him. And so he helped instill a love of sports into our kids' lives too. And it's not just so much the love of sports, but being able to use it as a platform just to be involved in people's lives.
So in 2000, I was on the board of Heritage Christian Schools by then. My wife and I were very active. I was spiritual formation chair, trying to implement a formalized discipleship program in the school back in 1999 and 2000. And so one of the things I thought was my son wanted to be involved with some athletics, and he was in 6th grade at the time. And I went to the middle school principal at the time. I said, hey, how about if we just try a lacrosse program? Because really at that point, baseball and track were the only things available for boys. And sometimes there's some skill sets that don't match up with a lot of guys for that. And so he said, sure, go try it. Well, I ended up having 30 kids come out that first year. There was a parent on the sideline at the time watching us practice, ended up being Chris Teeter, and then 12, 13 years later, he was still alongside of me. He knew nothing about the game at the time, but he had a nice bandwidth of some time that he was able to generate, and we ended up spending a lot of time together on the sideline.
I had a 7th grade son, CJ, who's 30 years old now, that wanted to go out for lacrosse. Shared it with me in a way that like he had missed the call out or whatever that is. So I went stomping into school, wanting to know how I could get my son involved with this team. He seemed to have some passion for in his voice, even though he had never played the game, and I really never knew anything about it. And Coach Flynn, in so many words, shared with me that be glad to put him on the team and all I needed was a clipboard and a whistle.
So when you're first starting out a program, you try to put an overarching theme about what you want out of it, right? And then you try to build things of the how-to under that. And I was always like, I just want guys to be plugged in. I want boys and men, young men, to be plugged into something. I always felt like if it was a rock climbing club, if it was a geode club, if it was a scrapbooking club, if guys wanted to do that, whatever they wanted to do, I'm just always interested in guys finding their passion and finding a place to be.
From the beginning, Coach Flynn was amplifying the message that comes out of Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. What can come together when you follow that principle of iron sharpens iron and sharpening one another and really playing as a team because of the relationships that Coach Flynn always focused on developing, and the love for one another really makes that concept of team rise to the top.
I really truly believe that athletics, especially at the high school level, is something that can't be replicated because you have guys coming together with different unique talents for a common theme. So my X's and O's were always built on how do I find the unique giftedness of each guy and put that into place that helps them see they are a part. I want to get a bunch of people here that, first of all, love the Lord. I want to get guys that love the Lord. And then I want to get guys that can say, I want to come alongside each of our players and do that, and come alongside each of these guys and say, how was your day today? What's going on with you today? Because in the end, that's what's going to be important, not how fast their shot is. It's going to be, what's going on with you today and how are you?
My first year of coaching, he was coaching the girls, but I needed help in terms of learning how to coach. And he was able to come alongside me after the girls' practices, before the girls' practices, help me learn the ropes of coaching a defense. So he just came alongside me, even though he wasn't part of the boys program at the time, and really he was willing to invest in me and the program along with what he was doing with the girls.
So I always tried to find men that would be willing to step up as head coach that maybe even were integrally as gifted in the knowledge of the game, but also love the Lord and wanted to be best for these guys. And I tried to put them in place to try to say, the program's not about the person that started it, the program is about the program. It's all about Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. We all need sharpening. And so I look at who we have around these men right now, like a Coach Kinney, and then even a recent graduate in Coach Daly, who was just a grad from a few years ago. These guys love the Lord, and they want to be and make a difference in the guys' lives.
We still reminisce on the old times and the good times we used to have, but I would say it's almost the same. Now he's just saying, hey, what's going on? Like, what are you doing now? I haven't seen you in a while, and so I bring him up to speed. But I would say it's the same. I mean, I came back and I was like, it's definitely the same Coach Flynn. I remember him. That's exactly. I see him relating now with all the other, lacrosse players.
We have to keep it intense. Lacrosse is a sport where you hit hard, where emotions are high during games, and you don't want to just roll over and have an excuse as, oh, they're bigger than us. We want to go out there, we want to compete.
They lost the man's discipleship leader about 5 years ago and went to the administration and said, how would you like me just to come in a few hours a day and help that void and fill that void? And it is all about being a resource and being a facility and having the facilities to come alongside these guys and making a difference in young men's lives.
You gotta lug all your stuff around, huh?
I'd seen him around in the locker room before, but I'd see all the lacrosse guys flock to his room, and it looked like a pretty fun place to hang out. Everyone started talking about their conversations with Mr. Flynn, and I'm like, I don't know this guy, but I think that it'd be really beneficial to me if I did.
15 years ago, I heard from the great theologian, Nick Saban, and he said, you know what I've learned? He said, I've learned coaching young men. Young men really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I look at that back and I think that was something that really stuck with me. And hopefully I've been able to implement to some degree.
Mr. Flynn taught me one of the most important things I know about my faith, and that's to search after God rather than looking at my past or looking at things that I need to stay away from. It was more, Jesus can supplement those things. And putting Jesus in those holes in my life transformed the way I lived.
That's everything.
One of the anecdotes that sticks out to me most is I was visiting somebody else at the high school, and this is just a couple years ago, and just as a matter of process, you'd stop by to say hi to Coach Flynn, like anybody who's come in contact with him that would be at the high school for some other reason would stop by and say hi to Coach before leaving. And as I was walking down the hall, there was a woman walking down the hall toward me that I did not know, looked kind of lost. And she says, pardon me, can you help me? And she'd been admitted to go to Coach Flynn's office, and she was looking around for him and didn't know him. And we got there, and she looked at him, and she teared up, and she said, thank you. She was the mother of a new student who had come in mid-semester, and guess who led the charge, right? Coach Flynn was there to walk him around to his classes, to introduce him to others, to have him into his office at lunch where there's a whole bunch of other students. And she's sitting there talking to him. We realize her son's right over there, yucking it up in the corner and doesn't even notice her. And that's how quickly it integrated. And she'd just come in and say thank you, because a parent's worst fear of a child being alone at school, right? And not on Coach Flynn's watch.